Hey everyone, it is Nerby Games, and welcome to my review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, Just As It Is, and not to mention Shell Shock. Also, if you want to watch this with the fam, this review is rated PG, so yeah, I gotcha. I did use a mod mic that you'll hear later on in this review, and spoke aloud why I did and didn't like the game while playing it, just so you guys know there's a mic switch coming up. I reviewed this game on Xbox Series S, just so you have some idea of what experience I went through. I also apologize that the faster scenes in the background gameplay have some artifacts in them because I did an OBS oopsie doopsie in the recording settings. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge has a good soundtrack, fun gameplay, good online experience, but has some troublesome enemies and needs permanent player indicators to balance out the fun chaos that is happening on screen. It is also a short, side-scrolling beat-em-up in the reign of something like Streets of Rage, with a roster of characters with their strengths and weaknesses. There's characters with no range like April, to lots of range like Donatello. There are characters like Casey who do some short and long range everything. Then there's Splinter, who bites everyone in sight like, calm down bro. There's characters with swords that are good like Usagi, and then there's Leo. But again, I'm not reviewing Dimension Shell Shock, even though Usagi is a better part of that DLC. We will be covering the main game, just not all the characters. The character roster pre-DLC includes Leo, Dawn, Raph, Mikey, Splinter, Casey, and April, just so you guys know who to pick. I would have liked a trial area so you can test out the characters so you know what character you'll gel with the best, because you just get the levels. This matters because if you start out on a character and you don't like the one you picked, you could just pick another one out of the lottery and just hope it gels with you. I made the mistake of picking Leo first to go through the game because I thought it was a good idea when it wasn't. Because Leo's boyfriend Usagi is a better pick overall than Leo in my opinion. But again, we will not be covering Dimension Shell Shock, okay? Leo Sagi aside, I should have picked another character like Michelangelo at first, since playing the other characters was a better experience. Depending on who you choose, the gameplay will be a mix of possible frustration with that character, thanks Leo, to having a pretty fun time if you have a particular fighting style you want to do, or just agree with what the game wants you to do. Because if you like to jump/down attack things all the time, since you have no patience for grabbing, the Triceratons will horn you out of the air. Some characters I also had difficulty with hitting airborne enemies. It took a jump and a hit to hit the airborne enemies, and sometimes it took 2 jumps and a hit, depending on who you picked. I am letting you guys know this if you have difficulty hitting the airborne enemies. Later in the game, there are enemies that can do ranged attacks, some of which can be deflected, in which this mechanic was not explained in the tutorial. Speaking of later in the game, it does get a little more hectic with the enemies on screen, which is why going it alone later on is not recommended by me. I didn't have many issues with latency in the game when it came to online multiplayer. However, sometimes connecting was a problem for me, especially when it came to some game modes. Sometimes when I was playing arcade mode, which just keeps going without this level select, The game seemed to have trouble with that online, and it did lag out a few times between levels, which was unfortunate. It's unfortunate for those who don't have in real life friends, and their online friends aren't available, so they queue up with some randoms, and they're also going for achievements as well. However, while teaming up is recommended, there is a downside to it. While it is funner with more people, there comes a problem of not always knowing where the flying flippity doodah you are, depending on the amount of players on the screen. There are some workarounds by limiting the amount of people in your party down to 2, and you could change the character's palette to stand out from the rest of the party, but in my opinion, the more the merrier, and the game makes it funner and chaotic, but there is still no permanent player indicator. Here are some examples of the current gameplay of me with commentary. See, I don't know where things are right now. I don't know what's going on. There are too many things happening in the screen. I don't know where I am. There I am. Now I can see where I am. Now things are going to happen. Watch. How can you follow what is going on in the screen? This is an example of I don't know what the f is going on. I don't know where I am. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Oh. There is a temporary indicator of where the players are, but that is the problem. It is temporary. This is especially frustrating the higher the difficulty is, with more enemies on the screen, and the high possibility that you'll be blindsided by a foot soldier, or maybe even something more embarrassing. A pizza monster that kills you. Speaking of the stuff that killed me in this game has a few on-rails sections, one of which I wasn't too fond of. I'm not sure what number level it was, but it was the first on-rails section you did, which unfortunately was in 2.5D as opposed to 2D. I'm not sure whether this level was meant to be comedic, frustrating, or a combo of them, but the fact that I had to deal with the flying enemies, bebopping Rocksteady's vehicle, road hazards, and cars all in a 2.5D space led to many deaths from me. Thankfully, the further on-rails sections in the game were 2D, which was a relief to me. I'm also thankful for the many beats of the soundtrack that were supporting the levels, because there were quite some bangers. Yet, not all of them were. I did like the presentation of the intro cinematic into the game, yet the intro song was a remix, and to me, you can't beat the original over this new remix, which I didn't like as much. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge has a good soundtrack, fun gameplay, good online experience, but has some troublesome enemies and needs permanent player indicators to balance out the fun chaos that is happening on screen. It also didn't cater to my particular gameplay style of the jump/down attack and a frustrating on-rail section, which did affect my upcoming scoring, but not by much, since one of my preferences is more biased over the other. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge gets an 80 out of 100. Next on my to-do list is back on my NerdViews channel. It is a review of the 2024 Saturday Morning Adventures TMNT April one-shot with Mona Lisa. Link to my NerdViews channel is in the description. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to check out my recommended video or playlist in my most recent video here. If you want to support my channel, links to my Patreon, Ko-fi, and or Streamlabs are in the description below. And if it comes down to it, you can always subscribe.